Bono region, 8,972, 3.6%. Bono East, 9,681, 3.9%. Volta, 12,190, 4.9%. Upper West, 8,474, 3.4%. Eastern, 25,625, 10.2%. Central, 27,984, 11.1%. Ahafo, 6,273, 2.5%. Ashanti, 44,232, 17.6%. Western North, 9,134, 3.6%. Oti, 7,259, 2.9%. Savannah, 5,261, 2.1%. Western, 15,100, 6.0%. The national total is 251,149. The national total is 251,149, meaning the commission has been doing an average of 45,000 per day. Now let's look at some dynamics in this registration. Females and males registration. A pattern that has become a regular feature of this registration since the first day is that nationally we are seeing more females registering than males. So of the total 251,149, females alone constitute 135,898, which is 54.11%. And males are 115,251, which is 45.89%. First-time voters. First-time voters, those between the ages of 18 and 21, constitute the majority of registered voters in all the 16 regions. Nationally, they represent 88.02%. That is 221,066 of the total number of registered voters so far. Persons with disabilities. At the end of the census, we've registered 400 persons with disabilities. These are the regional distribution of the persons with disabilities. Greater Accra 33, Northeast 13, Upper East 19, Northern 25, Bono 108, Bono East 13, Volta 14, Upper West 11, Eastern 20, Central 37, Ahafo 37, no, Central 37, Ahafo 4, Ashanti 27, Western North 9, Oti 20, Savannah 6, Western 21. So this figure of the total is 382, which constitutes 0.13% of the total number of registered voters. Now let's look at the forms of identification. The guarantor system continues to dominate the forms of identification used in the 2024 registration exercise, as in the 2023 exercise. This is something the Commission is not proud of because it is used by political parties and certain persons to facilitate the registration of unqualified persons, such as minors and foreigners. The current confusion at the registration centers is attributable to the guarantor system, because we are seeing many people who others are alleging they are minors and they are trying to register, and others are also insisting that we think you are not 18 years. So the table below shows the total figures and the percentages of the forms of identification for the first 5 days of the registration exercise. The Ghana card so far has been used by 98,926 applicants, constituting 39.39%. The passport has been used by 622 applicants, constituting 0.25%. The guarantor system has been used by 151,601 applicants, constituting 60.36%. Challenge cases. The challenge cases for the first 6 days of the exercise appear to be evenly distributed, although the numbers are high in some regions and low as well in other regions. In nominal terms, the Greater Accra region has the highest with 524 challenge cases, and the Northeast has the lowest with 9. As a percentage of the total registered in each region, the Volta region has the highest at 4.29%, and the Northeast has 0.13%, which is the lowest. The following are the challenge cases in each region. Greater Accra 524, Northeast 9, Upper East 37, Northern 130, Bono 43, Bono East 126, Volta 523, Upper West 106, Eastern 400, Central 274, Ahafo 117, Ashanti 341, Western North 53, Oti 140, Savannah 37, Western 75, giving us a national total of 2,935, constituting 1.17% of the total registered number of applicants. In conclusion, the Commission wishes to thank the media for their regular updates on the registration exercise. We know some of the media houses are focused on only the challenges, but a number of you have been highlighting the success of the exercise. We plead with you to use your platform to speak against the attempt by political parties and certain individuals to register minors and non-Ghanaians. Finally, I will say, may God, the good Lord, bless our homeland Ghana and make our nation great and strong. Thank you for giving us the needed attention.
Introduce and encourage technological innovation to improve capacity for coordinated monitoring of the small-scale and medium-scale mining sectors in order to reduce the environmental impact. This will include using AI to locate all small-scale mining and galamsey operations, to be able to track excavators and geofence all concessions to ensure mining operations are not conducted in unapproved areas, especially in water bodies. We propose
He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer.
And thank you very much for choosing the Mother of all talk shows, Alhaji and Alhaji, this morning. And we are live from the Dr. Kwame Nkrumah studios of Pan-African Television, where we are bringing you to today's show. Today is a Saturday. I hope you had a great week. Well, today we're having a discussion on the economy. Now, this week started with a discussion on the matter of the cedi, because by Tuesday, Gota had issued a statement. In the statement, they pointed out the difficulties the depreciating cedi was causing their businesses. In fact, as at that Tuesday, the cedi had gone up briefly to 15 Ghana cedis. It's come down, it's gone back up to the 15 Ghana cedis. If you want a cedi right now as a businessman, or for whatever purpose, you need to find 15 Ghana cedis to be able to buy the cedi. That is what we are seeing in terms of the figures that are put in our faces when you go on the internet, among others. It may be more. We'll be talking about the depreciating cedi and what that says about the economy, especially considering the fact that we are not paying debts. We are not paying the interest on those debts. And then we'll talk about the violence that has so far been witnessed during the limited voter registration exercise. We are getting close to ending that exercise, but so far it has not been that palatable. In fact, in one instance, the police invited a member of parliament, Honorable Collins Dada, because of something that happened in a constituency that was not his constituency. There were statements that was released by the police saying we have arrested him. The NDC then issues a statement said he's not been arrested. They've been attempts to clarify exactly what happened, but it's all related to violence. not only in the constituency in question, but in many other parts of the country. And we'll be talking also about the EC's own deficiencies in attempting to even announce the number of people who have been registered, just adding numbers together. We'll talk about the limited voter registration and the violence that has led it. And then we'll conclude with the very high praise given President Akufo-Addo by our serving Chief Justice, Gertrude Torkornoo. She says he is a champion of justice. He believes in the rule of law. And he is perhaps the best lawyer we ever produced. He calls him the most distinguished legal practitioner. We'll be talking about that because it is the communications officer of the NDC, National Communications Officer of the NDC, Sami Jemfi, who says what the Chief Justice actually says should be left for partyful soldiers. Well, we'll end with that discussion. Joining me this morning for today's discussion, let me start from my right. He is Ni Yaboy Anan. Ni Yaboy Anan is a financial analyst and a member of the National Democratic Congress. And sitting right by him is Mr. Solomon Owusu, who is a gallant member of the Yellow Army, a member of the Movement for Change, Alliance for Revolutionary Change. And sitting by him and getting farther away from me is Jifa Tegan, who is a Deputy National Women Organizer of the National Democratic Congress. The panel will concluded by Comrade Kwesi Pratt Jr., who is General Secretary of the Socialist Movement of Ghana. Well, that's the panel for today, and we're already behind time, so we'll dive right into it and start a discussion on the economy, the CD. And I'll start from my right and just take it that way. Well, me, good morning.
Good.
And nice to see you this morning.
Yes, very to great comrades and our viewers. Well, and also congrats.
Thank you
for your ratification of the limits. Well, I think that this is not a new discussion. We've had many discussions regarding the issue of our CD continuously depreciating against the major foreign currencies over the periods. Year in, year out, we do have these challenges coming to us. I have maintained that the fundamental issue we have here, or challenge we have here, is our lack of understanding of what money is. First and foremost, we during the 40s we had the gold standard, when minted gold was what we have as money, and that was backed with hard work. So for instance, you need to dig 10 feet before you get gold. There are other commodities you don't need to dig. You just probably need to search for them and have them. And therefore, based on the hard work it takes for you to obtain gold, gives it the value. There was a way to get it divisible of itself, so that you can have it in several forms, and that is when we started the coinage of most of these gold coins, and we were minting them. You have the 5 gram, you have, so sometimes you would realize that people, instead of saying dollars, they will say 100 gram, and that is the early stages of what we call money. What we have as money today is not backed by any hard work. All you need to do is to go to the printing house and print it out. The only authority or strength in that money is basically the law that says that this is our unit of account. So Ghana got its unit of account and said, we want to call it cedis. And by the authority vested in the president or the state, look, this is the value of the money. We determined it initially. Now, knowing very well that this money, this jurisdiction, is only up to the borders of this country, it is not demanded anywhere else. Unlike gold, silver, and other goods that are good, which means goods that are, or commodities that can also be used as money. In the early stages of our economic development, and when the white men hit our shores, in the coastal lines, beads were our unit of accounts, and not the current beads made out of glass. Those are not backed by hard work, and therefore they are cheap. So what our ladies wear today are in fact cheap beads.
You mean the one around their waist?
Yes, the one around their waist. Before, how beads are obtained in terms of its raw materials and the production itself makes it very expensive. And that is what we have to understand about money. Money should be able to store value. And therefore our cedi, I should be able to have the faith in the currency to say that if I put a value in this money, it will be stored without having it depreciated over a period of time. We often look at the depreciation of the currency against the major foreign currencies. But I believe that first and foremost, what we need to do and what we need to secure is the inherent value of what we call money in this country. One of the reasons why gold still remains a very strong unit of account, which is also a commodity, it is because it is demanded globally. Just like the dollar is demanded globally for trade purposes. That even if you are trading in China, they are not going to ask you for their local currency, but they will insist on you getting them the dollar. Now, the issue is, whatever makes money a good money, we do not have in our cedi. It does not go across space, so even in Togo, it is not demanded in there. It is not a proper, and it's proved itself since 1957, that it is not a proper store of value. In fact, between 57 to the 70s, we have had almost 3 devaluations of our currencies. And therefore, historically, printed on the minds of Ghanaians is that the cedi is not a proper store of value. So when you look at the cedi on its own, without measuring it to any other currency, it is already a weak currency. And on top of it, it has no backing. No backing at all. I had suggested in 2017 that we needed to put behind a hard currency. We needed to put something of value to back our cedi. And that instead of just selling our gold, it is now about time we use gold to push up the value of our currency and makes it more stable. Clearly, whatever activities we have gotten ourselves involved in terms of production equally have also not helped us to gain more value in terms of our currency. So, for instance, we produce cocoa, for which it brings us a lot of foreign currency, but in its raw form. And we are not the ones determining the pricing of cocoa. Now, if I dug 10 feet to obtain gold, the work I have put in is that I dug 1 foot each to reach 10. And therefore, I can say that I have produced or put hard work of the value of, let's say, 10 Ghana cedis, because each feet is worth 1 Ghana cedis. Now, for our cocoa, all we need is our labor, the seedlings, land, and maintaining the farm over a period to obtain it, which we do not, as a people locally here, demand cocoa so much, and therefore we need to export it in its raw form, and we have not thought of adding more value to it, and therefore we cannot actually price cocoa. For a long time, we sat back and we saw the pricing of cocoa outside Ghana, outside Côte d'Ivoire, and it is the international community, those who actually feed on it, were the ones deciding the price of cocoa. And therefore we lost putting value and the hard work in obtaining cocoa to shove up our currency. Our gold, same. We gave much of the value in our gold to foreigners. And therefore, what comes to us is very little to use that to support the currency. Now, with that said, looking at the current structure of our economy, the Bank of Ghana, who has the sole mandate of producing money and making sure that they set the right monetary policy, over the years have not done what they were supposed to have done to maintain the inherent value of the Ghanaian cedi. And most of the time when you see inflation flying so high, it is because we chose to go to the printing house to print more currency and push more currency into the public space. And when that happened, it dilutes the value, the inherent value of your currency. Not forgetting that this currency is actually competing with global currencies. Ghana's currency is only a national currency. It is only relevant in Ghana. And therefore, when we take these steps to destroy the value in the cedi itself, then you do not expect the cedi to go out there on the international stage and compete and even think of winning. So forever, if we don't do the right things, our cedi will remain weak and will get weaker. Now, another thing is production and manufacturing. What are we producing in this country apart from the traditional produce that we have, the non-traditional commodities we are producing, all demand dollars. And therefore, before you take on production, you have put the CD right against the dollar. So for instance, I want to put up a factory and I have to go and buy machinery which I demand dollars for. Then I had to bring in raw material because my agri sector in Ghana cannot supply exactly what I need, the quality and even the volumes that I need. And therefore, again, it's easier for me to rather import the raw materials than feed on what is being produced here. All this demands dollars. So before I take on the production, me, the businessman, the one standing behind production, I need dollars. Fine. When I produce my goods, how much of it would actually bring me dollars to be able to pay back what I bought, demanding dollars, assuming I got it on credit, which is debt. And a business is about debt. Equity is debt. So if I put in equity in terms of dollars, when I sell, I will demand dollars. Now this is the case that I am selling and I demand cedis only. I am not able to export. Therefore, I cannot have enough foreign currency to service my debt, either equity or loans. And therefore, I have to take that cedi and go out to the open market and demand it. Then I have a government that says that, look, we need to take on production. We need to do a lot of development. So I am going to borrow dollars without looking at what I am able to generate in terms of exports. So if you look at our growth in debt, it's so huge compared to the growth in our exports, which therefore means at all times what we will have with us in terms of foreign currency year on year based on export, our inflows will be way less than what we require to actually service our debts as a nation. So clearly, our government will come also to the market to also chase what? Dollars. And this is how we grow the demand for dollars in this country. We are using the floating system, and therefore the determination of the USD, the rate, is not pegged like the fixed mechanism. Demand and supply will determine the rate. So if I have dollars and there is shortage of dollars and you want my dollars, I will quote a higher price because I still wish to keep that being a proper and a better store of value than my cedis. So everything we do as a nation, in terms of us individually and as a nation all put together, we demand so much in terms of other currency and making it a harder money than our own money. The issue is, can we do otherwise? And I'll tell you, yes, we can do otherwise. We can be more prudent. We can change our trade. Yes, I've heard people say after blah, 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 and all that. It is a good step. But we must inculcate in the Ghanaian producer that, look, when your raw materials forms 20 to 30% of your costs, and all that demands foreign currency, you must do well to at least sell 50% of your produce for dollars, which means we must find a way to push up exports. If the net inflow is positive in terms of individuals and corporate bodies producing hard currencies for this nation, and we have a government who realizes that they also have to look at what comes in before they set out there to go and borrow. Yes, we need the development. Yes, we need all the facilities in terms of hospitals and all that. But again, we must have a ceiling and we must be guided. I was on a certain platform, and the discussion came up early this year about this. And I pretend that, look, by April, and moving from April, we should not be surprised if the dollar gets to 20 cedis. And then there was a comment that says that Don, you are causing fear and panic. So I want to ask the one who said I'm causing fear and panic, I'm sure he's watching, whether this is a reality or a fear and panic. We must all understand that we have taken part in making the city weak. But the ones with the greatest responsibility of ensuring, giving a direction through fiscal policy and monetary policy, is our government. And currently, the MPP government, led by the economist Dr. Baumia and the distinguished lawyer, His Excellency Akufo-Addo. And therefore, I would have expected that we were in a better situation than we are in today. Look, Ghana's international net flow from 2000 to 2008 was $120 million. That's not an outflow. The net for the period was 120 million. The net from 2009 to 2016 is 80.75 million. That is the net inflow. So for every money we borrowed in terms of credits and everything that we got coming in, and the servicing of, and when you reduce it by the servicing of debt and whatever we owe comes out, the net was $80.75 million. From 2017 to 2022, the net inflow is $809 million. What do we have to show for it? And I can tell you that in 2022 alone, the net inflow was over 700 million. Why? That was the year our bonds collapsed. a market we thought is a safe haven that could be a proper store of value for the Ghanaian. That was the year. So why did we not say that in 2020, the year of the pandemic, our net inflow was over 700 million? Rather, our net inflow only for 2022 was more than $700 million. And that is the bottom line. This is what determines how reckless we have been with the management of the economy. And when we say we have been reckless with the management of the economy, it is not an insult. It is a description of what has happened. Everybody in the chain should have known that we were about crashing. The banking sector, our financial sector, should have known. I only say that our insurance sector is intact today because God has probably blessed us and we have not had any major catastrophe in this country. If not, we would understand that, look, the insurance, the debt in the insurance sector is bigger than what we found in the banking sector. Technically, our financial sector has been wiped off. What did we do when we had opportunity to make sure that we put and bring back confidence in our currency with the banking sector issues? We rather chose to collapse the banking sector with a bad language, saying that, oh, those behind the banks are all thieves, we will deal with them. How many have you been able to deal with? But the pain you have caused the Ghanaian with those utterances cannot be imagined. And when we were doing that, we thought we were hurting certain persons, but we were hurting every Ghanaian. That you describe something as opaque, illiquid, and yet you came on a bond market to raise money to back an opaque financial sector, illiquid financial sector, called part of it good assets, form a bank out of that. What has been the performance of that bank? And tell me if their books does not justify that good asset you use in creating that bank should not be collapsed today by the same variables that you use in determining that the bank, some banks do not deserve to run and they should be shut down in the manner in which it was done. Banks do close all the time, but because we do not want people to lose faith in our financial sector, we would always have to try and give it a good look even when it is bad. The Americans have done it. They have taught us the way. Read a book about Paulson, Gardner, and the other the Secretary of Treasury, and what they did to maintain the system in the US during the 2007 period of economic crunch. The sacrifices they put in there. We chose to sit on radio. The finance minister, the president, chose to go out there and crash our financial sector because at that time probably it suits them. But that is part of the hurts the city is suffering today. We must all understand that it does not take mere rhetorics, fiscal policies, to make our city strong. It will not take our manifestos to make our city strong. It will take diligence, prudence, honesty, and the knowledge of what good money is to make our city strong. Our politicians have failed us when it comes to our currency. Unfortunately, they are the ones who will direct fiscal and monetary policies. But they have failed us. I have also heard others saying that, look, we can use the dollars as a currency locally and make sure that we don't have all this. Look, that has been tried. The Lebanese tried it. It worked perfectly. In fact, through the 2007 the economic crunch, one of the countries that were not affected at all was Lebanon. But what happened? It is also the corruption of their politicians. Because you have 4 million Lebanese living in Lebanon, but you have over 20 million Lebanese living outside Lebanon. And religiously, they bring money, dollars. It is assumed that every Lebanese in a month brings at least $100 back home. They had the dollar, and therefore they could have used a fixed rate, which they did. And if you are in Lebanon, you can pay the taxi fare with your dollar. And people thought that that was a way to go. It crashed. And when it crashed, it was so bad. Today, if you have $100 in Lebanon, you are a king. And therefore, we should not rush into taking decisions. Where we are now, as a country, we all need to step back and ask ourselves the right questions. What do we need to do to make sure that we put a hard work behind our city and not take our gold and say that we are going to exchange it for oil, which I believe has never happened, has never occurred. What we did was to take our gold and use it more like a collateral to borrow dollars. And we have a period of, I think, 1 month to pay back. So we quickly come and sell our fuel, and then we get money, another pressure on the currency, change, and then go and pay with interest. And so the gold was just back in the transaction, more like a collateral, you would describe it. And therefore, we are not honest people. We are not honest. That is one of the things that is killing us. We all politicians, when it comes to the money, please, let's be honest. Let's do the right things that will make sure that we are protected, our investments are protected. Today, all of us sitting here, if we have cedis and we do not need it today, we will need it in 2 years' time. And we are supposed to take a decision to leave the store of value in the cedi as against the euro, the pound sterling, or the US dollars. What would we all opt for? We will opt for the US dollars. At least maybe others would not, but for me, I would do. Because I want to wake up 2 years from now and still hold something of value in my hands. I want to use that money to cross the borders of this country and be relevant. That is what I want to do. I think that one of the reasons that why we have not found these topics very interesting is that whatever our earnings are, our earnings themselves are not backed by hard work, which is corruption. Because if you work so hard, you wake up early in the morning, you stay late in the night to actually make your money, trust me, you would want to hold it as a store of value over. But when it is born out of corruption, you quickly want to get out there and invest it in a huge building as a store of value. You want to quickly rush and get US dollars and probably protect it by taking it out of the jurisdiction and putting it somewhere safe. But when you are confident that you worked hard for the money you earned, your attitude towards the money is different. And that is another aspect we would need to look at. I think in a nutshell, whatever is happening to us is born out of bad leadership, incompetence, incoherent policies, and a confused handlers of the economy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. If you just join us, the Mother World Talk Shows Alhaji and Alhaji, and we are discussing the CD, the depreciation of the CD, and the economy. Well, a few things. I know you don't usually like to hear this. Planting for food and jobs, one district, one factory, one village, one town. Those were all supposed to address some of the issues we were raising. Anyway, before I go to read your comments, so I want to hear your thoughts.
Good morning to you, Mr. Senano. Now I can add the Mr. to your name because you decided to legitimize the name Mr. or the title Mr. To my sister Jifa, it's been a long time that I set eyes on you. I hope your campaign is going well too. As it were, make sure the NDC places second to the movement for change. So that when you are competent enough, so under the able leadership of Mr. Chairman Tim, you have no worries. It's a government of national unity and you would be amply favored. To my brother Don, who has done justice to the topic, I say good morning. And to our comrade, the General Secretary of the Socialist Movement of Ghana, Mr. P, I say good morning. Let me also wish the family of John Kumar very well, as I understand that he has been buried. And so I wish all of them well, the new patriotic party, the best of luck in their future endeavors. And all old boys of Opokuwari, the school that John Kumar attended, I understand my own Prempeh College, Beta also there, amply mourning with our brothers from Opokuwari. And to our movement for change members in the northern region, Alhaji Hindu, Toyib, Sani, Awalawu, Jawarat, and Co., as well as Papa Jane, Timpani, I greet you this morning. Senna, this topic knows no political color. Everyone is now feeling the heat. This is the only topic that when you introduce, everyone speaks without impugning political motives. Because today, if you have your own car, it is very difficult to fill it. It is very difficult to have 3 square meals. It is extremely difficult to take care of your kids, especially in a part of the world where the man is the only ATM available. I know my sister would disagree, but the truth of the matter is that if you are the man in Africa, and particularly in Ghana, when the bills are ready, And the women are so skillful. They place it at the dining table, put the food closer to the bills, and then when you come home, they will meet you with joy, sit by you as you are eating. Then they show you, have you seen those people? It's bills. And these bills are sending many to their graves because money is not there. They don't touch on the fundamentals. I mean, the reason why we are where we are is that our economy has been so since we got independence. We have been exporting our gold in the raw form. We have been exporting our cocoa in the raw form. Everything. The good book tells us about 3 fundamental things man needs in life: food, clothing, shelter. So now you ask yourself, which of these do we as a country have control over? We practically import most of the clothing we use in this country, the food we eat. Now go around the restaurants. We have decided to forgo our gobe, our fufu, our banku, and eating Chinese. This, that, all imported. The newly born babies, if it is not Cerelac, it is something that's all are imported into this country. So when your demand exceeds supply, this is a cause 101. Definitely there will be depreciation of your currency, and the depreciation will also lead to inflation. That is where we are. Now the good book also says in James 1:5 that when you are praying, pray for wisdom. I think that is where the country we must direct our prayer lines to. I see a lot of people always praying for God to help us to get money. No, don't pray for that. Pray for wisdom. Wisdom that will lead you into, as it were, choosing leaders who has what it takes to lead us well, especially those that becomes our presidents and those that goes to parliament. What I've realized over the period is that most often we get leaders who are either not prepared to lead us, or they are only fixated on enriching or amassing wealth for themselves and their families. That is the only conclusion I've come to. Because you see, when you elect a president, he is given the sole mandate of appointing or nominating ministers. So he appoints or nominates the finance minister together with his economic management team. And they are supposed to handle our fiscal policies, i.e. spending and revenue, expenditure and revenue. Now it is the same president that appoints your governor of Bank of Ghana. And the Bank of Ghana is supposed to have an effective monetary policy. And they are also given the arduous task of making sure that our currency is stable at all material time. So if you are not lucky as a country and you follow the trivialities, the jokings that goes on during campaign, you are likely to settle on a candidate that does not have a plan to deal with our problems. And that is where we are. A country where day in and day out what we send to parliament is all about either we are borrowing or we are introducing new taxes. A Bank of Ghana who sees its monetary tool in dealing with inflation and depreciation of the currency as only increasing interest rate, then you are doomed. Why are we as a country unable to produce the basic needs that we need? Why? It is because of the high taxes, the number of taxes confronting businesses, and also the high interest rate. I have said a time with that number that I want to see this current governor of Bank of Ghana become a businessman in the open market and go to bank and borrow at a rate of 36% and survive in business so that I clap for him. Your policy rate is 29%, for Christ's sake. So how can any businessman involved in industrialization or industries or production go and borrow at 35%? Because the policy rate, these commercial banks will add what they call the risk profile, which ranges between 7 to sometimes 9. So in effect, you are going to borrow at say 36%. And how do you produce with such a rate? So what our people have been reduced to is to always engage in importation. So if you listen or read what Guta put out there, their major concern is that all their working capitals are being eroded. They are unable to import more. Freight charges have gone out. And so what we are dealing in this country is imported inflation, and for that matter leading to the depreciation of our city. The whites, they told us to adopt structural adjustment. We did. Foolishly enough, we did not have any people with sound reasoning mind. They said we should sell all our industries and engage in importation. And we had people who had attended all the best universities agree to it. So we started selling industries that were producing the basic necessities of life. When they realized they were done with this, they said they had a Paris club or whatever, and they had HIPIC. We should go and embrace HIPIC. We did it for them. Then again, they realized they have taken charge. After that, they said, look, there is an IMF. If you are having difficulty with your balance of payment, go to them. We listened to them. We went in the 90s, we went in the early 2000s, we have been there in the 2010s, and we are there now. Still, we are where we are. And 70s too. We have been obedient country. Whatever our masters say, we do it. We discover oil. They say they are taking 90%, take 10%. We obeyed. Still, nothing could be. We had gold. These people were able to tell our forebears I told our leaders who have schooled in Oxford, Cambridge, Yale, Harvard, and what have you, that you did not need to put up a gold refinery in this country, but rather you must ship all your gold out. We obeyed. The last thing that even freaked me was that these people, they said our governor of Bank of Ghana is so mugu. He's a mugu. So they are bringing someone from abroad, Leonard Chumo, to come and supervise what we were doing at the Bank of Ghana. We accepted quickly. And the man is still there. So, Senna, why is it that we are still where we are, in spite of all this advice from people that we perceive to be loving us? It tells you that these countries, your US, your UK, your Canada, and so on and so forth, they don't wish you well. So it is about time we develop a homegrown economic policies or theories to deal with our specific situation. And that is why election 2024, you need to value your vote. Don't just go and vote. You must analyze all the candidates and whatever they are bringing, whether or not they have a plan to stimulate production. How is it that, for instance, if it is not for TV, if it is not for chop, that we always and always, that's every year, we go on the international market to borrow $1.2 billion to come and buy our own cocoa. So now, who can explain this to even a toddler? That every year, this country, together with its banks, are unable to raise monies locally, city, to buy our own cocoa, to go and sell, to get foreign exchange, but we rather prefer to go and borrow dollars, sell our cocoa, and use the proceeds to pay. So it tells you that when we are praying, we must pray for wisdom to get the right people to lead us. It is no more sustainable after 100 years of depending on cocoa and gold to continue to do so. And that is why we need to diversify this economy. Now, we is talking about this diversification here. And here, let me knock my heart out to the next leader of this country, Alan John Kojo-Kyerematen. The plan is so clear. The plan is so clear that if Malaysia that came to Ghana to take the palm fruit can realize 20 billion from palm and its related products, what is our business in over concentrating on cocoa? Mind you, Malaysia is an Islamic or Muslim country that does not, the members of the country do not drink. Imagine if they were boozing on top of it, Senna. The amount of money they would have realized. Ghana, we booze. We drink. So it is more than important, it is more than necessary that we venture into an area like palm oil or whatever, palm fruit or palm, what do you call it? Is it palm nut or palm fruit? Yes. And it's not something that we are now going to do it. Look, we imported Israeli technology into this country as far back as 2007. When Mr. Alhaji Kyerematen was the Minister of Trade and Industry, when asked why, you see, the wickedness of the Ghanaian is above roof. So it's a solution that can deal with this depreciation. And I'm tackling palm fruit because it is one of the fundamentals that human needs to survive. I've told you, food, clothing, shelter. The people of Tamale, you go on the various high streets, you see young men carrying yams and selling. Have you observed that? All these young men hitherto were producing cotton in Yendi and Tamale to feed our textile industries. Because our local textile industries, i.e. the GTP, the Printex, the Akosomo textiles, are unable to compete with foreign companies because of the high interest rate and the high taxations they are experiencing here, the local textile industry has collapsed. And because of that, these young men and women are not getting the match in their revenue from their cotton production. So all of them have decided to move southwards and are engaged in selling yams. Vietnam every year gets $35 billion from textiles. And we have what it takes to go back and do that. It doesn't take much. Shelter. I understand the Minister of Trade and Industry, K.T. Amon, says the cement manufacturing companies must immediately reduce their prices on cement. They must stop some of these rhetorics. How are you able to instruct a company to reduce its prices? When was the last time government decided to reduce it or remove some of the taxes on the components or manufacturing components of cement?
I think what had happened was that they had announced new prices. He says they should put that on.
How are you going to put that on hold? How are you going to? We are in a country where when you decide to increase your, now the fuel prices are automatic. These cement manufacturing companies, they use fuel. Yours is automatic, theirs must not be automatic. What sort of logic is that? They are paying high taxes at the port for their clinker. A major component in cement manufacturing. They are having to pay high transport costs for the transportation of limestone from wherever they mine it. A major component in cement production. They are paying their workers. You sit in the comfort of air conditioning and come and tell them that hold on. Hold on for what? So, government policies itself is not doing justice to the people of this country. Apart from cement, other elements in the building industry, about 99% are imported into this country. Meanwhile, we have Building Research Institute of Ghana that has done an extensive research on the kind of local components we can use to be building. What has happened to that? These are the real issues. We only talk about it and then go and sleep without tackling them. Meanwhile, if we had done so, the economy would have been diversified. Senna, if we do not move from this Gojisbergian economy, we have said it over and over and over again. After 100 years of mining gold, why is it that we don't have a refinery in this country? The last I heard the Minister of Lands and Natural say, oh, very soon the refinery will be ready. They talk just like that. Dubai does not have gold deposit, yet they have refinery. What does it take? Or what would it take for Ghana to have a refinery? We discovered oil in this country. Singapore, that does not have oil, has oil refineries. We just exploit our oil and send it to Rotterdam and then it comes back to us. Now I understand we are having to use our gold to guarantee for oil, refined oil that is going to be imported by Centu, a foreign company. When indeed there is store that belongs to Ghana that has been left to rot. You see the thing. That's why I say when the Ghanaian is praying, they must pray for wisdom. Don't pray for money. Don't pray, because we prayed that we wanted oil and we thought that when the oil came, it will solve all our problems. It has rather aggravated our problems. The wisdom is lacking. The common sense approach is lacking. We are tired of these theories, people coming to give us theory. Planting of for food and jobs does not know theory. The people must go on the field and put the seedlings on the ground and it will germinate for food to come for us to eat. This is why I don't need any long story. It's all about doing the right investment. How is it that we are able to pay SML 1 billion plus, which I even doubt because the president is refusing to make the audit report public? Couldn't we have used that money to invest in the agriculture sector? We have General Traore sitting in Burkina using money that is supposed to be used to buy land cruisers, buying tractors about 400 and over for farmers in Burkina so that they can increase productivity. We are here using our money to be buying SUVs for leaders who have no clue as to how to lead. That is not productivity. We have been told that $11 million have been expended on Pualugu irrigation dam. So that when nothing has happened and we are sitting in a country and we call ourselves honorables, excellencies, what are we talking about? Only yesterday they said they have approved 150 million for Garrett, and when I listened to the reason for the approval, there I give up. That in the midst of the rains is now that they are going to stop the flooding. So they have approved that loan to deal with the flooding situation when the rains have already started. People are unable to move from Odoko to Kaswa because of this. You have now approved. What is the thinking? When you pray for wisdom. So you see where we are. And so when you do all this, your city will never stabilize. nothing is happening. This is against the background that we are not paying our external creditors. So when the Don says we are likely to end the year did you say next month or so with the city going for 20 cities? He is right. At the time that you are not paying your external creditors, it means all the dollars meant for the payment must be in this country to show up your city. Is that not the case? So where are the dollars? But they gave us a clue where the dollars are. Under the beds of the ministers. So the short-term solution to this problem, Senator, is to beg all the ministers and government appointees that for Christ's sake, they must release all the dollars under their beds into the system so that the city will stabilize. These are the leaders we have. And the president is not concerned. When was the last time you heard him speak about the depreciation of the city? But he's in this country. What he's doing is that he's forwarding people's removal, OSP removal. He doesn't care about the real issue, which is bread and butter, that people are unable to feed. When you wake up and you on your data, the number of requests, you dare not read. When you read, these are realities. You have impoverished the whole country. You have removed the middle class. They are all impoverished. So now those downtrodden are now facing the realities of the day. This is the country we are talking about. And in all this, instead of getting cogent or coherent policies that would reassure the people of this country, we have the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party saying, my tax money will be used to finance churches.
He said he was joking.
Which one is the joke? So then he must come back to us and tell us the number of jokes he has already told the people of this country. He took his propaganda. He has been making this propaganda together with the LPP communicators for almost 8 years. Teachers allowance, we have restored. Nursing allowance, we have restored. It took that young, beautiful lady in hijab in Bono East, Ayu Jaria, to ask the vice president a simple question. That when am I receiving my allowance? A humble question, a harmless question that humbled the vice president. And yesterday, I watched a video of the vice president. I started having a second thought of him. That a pastor of the Assemblies of God Church in Dagbon, Ramatu Abdullah Helena, who claimed to have invested in Gold Coast securities, asked the vice president, so when are we getting our locked up investments? The vice president answer ends the whole matter. That never again, voters must not, in fact, it will be suicidal, it will be unthinkable, it will be unpardonable for the vice president to get 13% in election 2024. He says, when you were enjoying from the investment, we never heard you cry. When you lost your money, you are here doing, but it was your determination that it was a good investment. That's why you went into it. So the state has absolutely nothing to do with it. This is the vice president. Right there, he has killed any investment initiative that is imbued in any Ghanaian. Because if you have a vice president and a flag bearer who is fighting to be the president, and this is his mindset, then it's a worrying development.
Okay.
So I will end by saying that appointees must bring out money, we must diversify our economy, and the government must also follow monies that are due us without law, especially what is happening in Adamus. I hope we will address this issue one day. I'll end my submission here.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Solomon Owusu. Interest?
A quick one. A quick one. I think with that expression, Gettysburg economy, we should stop using it, because the Gettysburg economy is better than this economy. Palm oil in 1898, to be precise, March, and continuously was more than 429,000 gallons, and that was earning us 19,000 pounds monthly. And palm kernel, we were producing more than 800 tons of palm kernel, that was earning us over 5,000 pounds monthly. The contribution to our export was more than 60% of our total export. So let us stop using that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'll do a few comments. This one is from YouTube. This Sell the Glass says, good afternoon. Panel, using gold to back our currency was the exact thought that came to my mind this morning. Thanks for raising this very important point. There's this one from Boxman from Deno, who says, I think we have caused this as Ghanaians by giving so many years to our president to rule when he himself said we should try him for 3 months. I humbly advise Ghanaians to ensure that by 7 December, vote according to the economy of your home. Thank you for that message. There's Francis who only says I am speechless. Send that from Takwa. There's this one from who says Mahama should listen to Sulu's patriotic agricultural submission, follow some of it if he hadn't already. I want him to come and take charge and finish his unfinished job before any next leader comes. Thank you for the message. This one says Mr. Solomon was spectacular in his submission. Indeed, we must pray for wisdom for our leaders. There's this one that says, ask Solomon also to tell us the truth, whether Alan Chamanti is planning to reunite with the MPP, and if so, why and when. Togbe Kupe Damsa, send that one. Okay, I think he has responded to you. Toyi from Tamale says, okay, Mr. Solo, I find it very difficult seeing the VIP telling us they are breaking the so-called date. The man who is supposed to be concerned with the city depreciation was last seen with a home use car steer misbehaving, and I'm concerned about the dollar. It's high time we throw these two parties into a dustbin. These parties have nothing good to offer Ghanaians. They are same coin with different faces. Alan is the best solution for our mother Ghana. Toyub sent that from Tamale. There's this one coming from Northeast region. In need honesty is the first chapter of the book of wisdom. Mr. Solomon has pumped wisdom this morning because he spoke so honestly about the woes of Ghana this morning. Larry Oscar sent that one. Larry, thank you very much. Tafai Namra here says, I have listened to our dear Vice President and I was shocked despite the unprecedented depreciation of the cedi, of the currency in the VIP hands. He is still saying they have been better managers of the economy than the former President Mahama, who left the dollar to the cedi less than 4 cedis, and now they have pushed dollar to almost 15 cedis to $1. So now just last year we used to buy my kenke and fish for 7 Ghana cedis. Today the same kenke and fish, but today I have to use 20 cedis in order to get the same kinky and fish. And Alhaji Baumia is telling me that he has managed his economy. I can't think far. That is Tafai Namahia who sent that. This one just came from Baka from Wa. For how long do we have to keep talking about the bad happenings of Nana government without solution? It's been almost 8 years now. It has always been corruption, lies, many appointees disrespect of the appointees and others. Ghanaians are suffering. Thank you very much for the message. There's this one from Kluche Jacob from Foigan Catholic Hospital, Volta region, says, but I'm so happy when Baumia was being disgraced by a nursing student in the northern region, his own hometown, about the so-called reintroduction of nursing training allowances. Truly, the God of GM is speaking for him. GM has a comprehensive plan to address the needs of service personnel, whilst the other is clearly confused on how to prudently manage the national service scheme. Choose GM, hashtag change is coming. Thank you for the message. This one says, please ask Solo, why is the movement of change not in Zongos? Are they also waiting for us to call them all? When Mr. Alan started his first appearance as flag bearer, he visited mosque for blessings in Kumasi Zongo. Why now? So I'm sure he's taking note of that. Says Baumia. Yes, Baumia can never manage his house economy. What of Ghana? Please, Baumia should give us a break was thank you very much for the message. Vision from Tamale is also saying a message. Says, good morning. Management of the economy is not about bragging. Usually empty drum makes the most noise. NDC don't tell Ghanaians they can manage the economy better. They demonstrate it. And that is what we believe as a party. Because the only way a meat can prove its fat is by the heat of fire. We did it when we were given the office, and now we are coming back not to only fix that, but also to prosecute criminals in the NPP government. Even if President Mahama declares 2 years, the given years for perpetrators' arrest and prosecution, we would appreciate that. Political criminals have been exonerated to walk around freely when they should have been serving in jail. Okay, thank you very much for the comments you're sending to me. I've gone through as I will continue to read more as we go along. Jifa.
Sana, a very good morning to you and to my fellow panelists, my comrades here today. I must say that when Solo was speaking, I don't know how to express that feeling, but it was a good feeling. It was a good feeling because right on this panel several times, you know myself and Solo's history, he will heckle me as if this is not a monologue program, because he would just want to defend the indefensible about this economy. But it is not about the fact that he is now in a different movement for change, whatever people may think. I think that it's only a bold step for somebody to see the light and say, no, with the integrity that I possess, I refuse to go on with these lies. And so, Solo, you should be in NDC, and I know you come soon. However, the fact that you are standing your grounds and pointing out the rot in this government, it's something worth emulating. I'll go straight to the topic of the falling of the cedi and the current state of the economy. I wouldn't be able to talk about the fall of the cedi if I cannot point out the implications of when your currency falls, or when the cedi, in our case, falls. You know, the reason why it is a very important topic in any country whatsoever is because of the factors that it affects and the significance of those factors in the lives of human beings. So one of the first things that we know is the hikes in imports, which is a very big issue for developing or struggling countries like us, who depend more than 80% on importation. Also, the hikes in fuel prices that transcends into affecting our transportation prices and even food, especially food. Knowing how very important food is for any country or for human beings, these are some of the few issues that the fall in the cedi affects. There is one other thing that comes out as to the effect of the fall in the cedi, which makes me panic a lot as a businesswoman myself, is that when there is that instability and that when there is that struggle, when there is that uncertainty about how low or how sharp the decline is going to be, you realize that in order to secure people's businesses, they go ahead of the government. When they go ahead of the government, I mean to say that, okay, so today the dollar is 15 cedis. And everyone on this panel who has spoken so far, including one man that we know, the former UT managing director, Mr. Mwabing, he was the first person I heard asking or saying or predicting that the cedi would be probably at 20 cedis by the end of this year. People are even predicting more. The whole idea is that you do not want to be caught by surprise as a businessman. And so because you know the rate at which you imported your goods and know that it would probably be far higher when you are going for your next batch, why don't I go beyond what the government is doing or what's the current status? So today it is 15 cedis and you realize, okay, people are supposed to just increase their product. If it was 10 cedis, today it will be about 11 cedis or something. And then no, they jump from there to about 14 cedis because they are scared. They don't want to be seen increasing their prices every day and by the minute. And so they go ahead of the government, and it causes a certain level of instability that worsens the case. That is my worst fear, because you realize that people just have to save themselves first. And it is the sufferer that keeps suffering, and those that are enjoying, especially those that have the huge sums of dollars in their accounts, that keep enjoying. Today, if anybody has even a dollar account of even $10,000, it is difficult for you to want to take out of it. You are rather thinking of ways to hoard more, because the value keeps increasing and your dollar, your CD, keeps depreciating. The instability is what I want to level on today. And the fact that it is what tears down the country apart. And it has been like this since time immemorial. Let's be fair. It has always been going forward. However, as a young person and as a small business owner myself, I will tell you that apart from the fact that I'm a politician, the one thing that motivates me is what my leaders can do for me. I am telling you with all sincerity that, putting aside the fact that I'm a politician, I really believe that my flag bearer is coming to create that opportunity for me, coming to create that change for me. It might be slow but sure, because he is not somebody who just levels up on fake promises or sweet talk. But that is why I would vote for any person. That is why I would follow any person. So when in 2016, 2015, you hear that somebody comes wholeheartedly and talks about the one thing that affects our lives to the core. Remember that I haven't even, should I say, digested this whole theory that I've given you into its last bits of how it affects prices of school fees, changes in school fees, how it affects all goods and commodities. Remember, I've not even said that, but I'm trying to say that it goes to the last bits of even the cameras in this room, the prices of cameras in this room, the prices of newspaper, the price of the shirts that we are wearing. So when in 2016, as a young small business owner, together with a lot of people who think like me, hear from somebody who is talking about the one thing that would really change the lives of everybody. You touch that thing and everybody's life will change, positively or negatively. That is, depending on how you touch. Come and tell me that you know how to manage the city. And that the city at 4 Ghana cedis in 2016 was horrible. It's something that we cannot even think of. It was bad. Because since 8 years, remember that when we had the change of our currency or modification of our currency, it was during Kufuor's era. And so since Kufuor's era, in the middle of, I think it was 2006 or something, since Kufuor's era, till the end of NDC's 8-year period, it had gone from 1 cedi. In fact, when Kufuor was leaving, it was about 2 cedis. It had gone from 2 cedis to about 4 Ghana cedis. And we were told that it's horrible. We are dying because of this, and something has to be done drastically, else we die. This is what we were told. And everybody who cared to listen, everybody whose business was on the line, everybody whose money in their pockets had lost value as to this, was excited that His Excellency Dr. Baumia came to tell us that he manages this economy better than anybody. And that we will not see the decline of the city again. And that when he comes to power, we give him the mantle with his running mate, his flag bearer, that he's going to transform the economy, starting with the city. He spoke and made us believe that he was an economic wizard. In fact, he had that nickname at a point in time. And I remember very well that right on this platform, Sulu has used it several times. The economic wizard. I remember those days. I remember, Sulu, that he was the economic wizard, that he knew how to handle the economy. And indeed, Sulu, there were several times, not once, that he had the public platform and boasted, hit his chest about how, since he took power, have been able to transform the economy, have been able to stabilize the city, and in fact, locked and arrested the city and gave the keys to the IGP, whom we are supposed to trust most, as he is the leader of the police force. Today, that is the same man telling us that he was only a mate and not a driver. When he didn't seize the opportunity, he didn't lose the opportunity, to claim glory to himself for arresting the cedi and giving the IGP to the dollar. That is where my pain is coming from. So we have had so many theories and analogies about what causes the fall of the cedi, what is still causing it, how to save it, and whether it is even possible to save it at all. But my problem today is when you promise me and you fail, and you are not able to account for it or come and explain why you have failed. In any serious country, Dr. Baumia should not be given any platform to talk. He should not have the audacity to address a serious audience, because there is nothing you can say about the past of what you have done before. And as a sensible individual, excuse my language, who has family, who has friends that look up to you, when you fail to do a task that you know or you said you are competent in doing, you do not ask for another thing. There is a proverb in Tree that I've forgotten how to put together, but there is a proverb in Tree. And it even talks, it goes way ahead to talk about the parable of the, what is it? When God, the parable of the talents. You were given one, you were not able to produce anything more. You do not have the right to be given more. Because at the end of the day, to whom much is given, much is expected. And in 2016, despite all the machinations, the election machinations that went on, the NPP couldn't stop talking about this 1 million gap votes. And the fact that Ghanaians have instilled some sort of confidence in them, that we need you, come and help us. Until date, from 2016, 4 Ghana cedis to 15 Ghana cedis and over as we speak. In a matter of just 7 years. Went from 2 cedis, or let's say even 1 cedi, to 4 cedis was a problem for 8 years. To them, 4 Ghana cedis to 15 Ghana cedis in a matter of 7 years. And we are all predicting that at the rate at which the cedi is falling, we know that there is no chance that we will be anywhere below 20 Ghana cedis by the end of 2024. Importation hikes have just swallowed everything. There was this made in Ghana agenda that spearheaded a few years ago. It was exciting. The youth can make so much out of it, because if not for anything at all, the banking sector cleanup, that was the worst thing that I could ever think a government would think for their country, and several other things have rendered hundreds of thousands of youth jobless. And so the whole idea is entering into the private sector, and I am not disappointed by that. Yes, in every serious country, you have the private sector running, as much as the government sector should be running. Today, it is the private sector that is feeding and holding the government afloat. But this whole Ghana, made in Ghana item just came, so that let's make clothes in Ghana, let's make products in Ghana. I'm a young lady, I can talk about one of the major factors, beauty products, that have taken over the world market. Maybe the men may not know, but it's $1 billion a business right now that men are investing in as much as women are investing in. You know the funny thing, Solo, everything is being imported from China.
Yeah.
The agenda of made in Ghana is now rebranding.
Yeah.
Even packaging products have been imported from China. Fabric from China. Right now, you see that the youth who have a little will travel to China, see a manufacturer. They'll produce everything down to packaging and just ship it. One of the major things I'm here to say today, that the made in Ghana agenda is dead. It has turned into packaging and branded in Ghana, so that you see a Ghanaian owning a certain product. Not even 5% of that product, 5% of the component of that product was made in Ghana. And we are still dragging low. There is, apart from kente, even kente is being made from China these days.
Yeah.
The thread for processing kente, beautiful kente that is made now, modern kente, is all coming from China, which is basically the main ingredient item that is used in kente. It's so unfortunate, Senna. I am wondering what it is that Bawumia has sat down and is thinking of putting together. So that after all these things, tomorrow, yesterday I found out the CD was 15 cities. Tomorrow, he will go to another platform and talk and ignore this topic. And tell people to give me a steering wheel. And say that I was only the mate and not the driver. Let me reiterate that it is not as if when there was time to take the glory, you excluded yourself because you know that when I entered, I was just a mate. You took glory upon yourself. You told us why things are better. You said that you have worked in Bank of Ghana. Look, and the kind of scenarios or the kind of examples he gives, overconfidently saying that you have sat in Bank of Ghana yourself and Ghana has filthy money. Ghana has money. And it's just being managed by the wrong people. You are not assuming. You are telling Ghanaians that the imaginary vault that everybody imagines that Bank of Ghana has, that very few people, less than 1% of this economy, less than 0.5%, have ever seen. You have been there. You know all there is to know about the happenings and works of Bank of Ghana, and you can see that we have money. It is being managed by the wrong people, and that is why we have nothing to show for it. Today, I won't be surprised if there is nothing. Bank of Ghana is just an empty place. Maybe with people who are intelligent, but empty leaders, including the managers of this economy, including Dr. Bawumia, headed by Akufo-Addo. So now, it is demoralizing. I am saying that the idea of this city should really be a sensitive topic for every young person who is struggling to make ends meet. And know that no matter what, Bawumia is never a choice. He fronted the 2016 campaign looking like he was the one going to manage the economy. If I stand to be corrected, he made it so obvious that yes, he is a running mate. However, he has the expertise. Nana Akufo-Addo said so and recognized him several times after they were in parliament. They were in power. So this is the man that is saying that he was only the mate and not the driver, that he had no power whatsoever to touch anything. Looking at the fact that we are still being drowned in taxes. And we are still, upon all the taxes that we are being drowned in, we still have places that have serious water problems. We still have doomsday all around the country. The president and whoever cares to talk have come out severally to say it has been solved. We all know, the 5 of us on this panel all know that doomsday is at its highest peak and may only get worse as time is going. At least there are people who live outside who will talk about high taxes, but they have stable electricity. They know they are paying for what they are getting. They are getting what they are paying for. They have stable water. They have stable and good health facilities. They have stable and good educational facilities. That is there. Unfortunately for us, we pay for everything, including high taxes on luxury cars. Where in this economy, cars are no more luxuries but a necessity. There are no more luxuries but a necessity. And this is it. As we speak, the finance minister and the economic team or whatever gurus that they have are still looking at loopholes to see what is left to tax. When I quite recall that a few years ago, Bawumia sat on one of the morning shows, radio shows actually, and mentioned that he doesn't believe in taxing everything. And in fact, at that very show, he even mentioned that he was never going to do this e-levy thing. And taxing mobile money was not the right way to go. It went down to accepting all this. He has still not accounted. After fronting it, he has still not accounted to why we had to pay e-levy tax eventually. Today we borrowed so much, billions of dollars. We have borrowed so much. To the extent that the Ghana Beyond Aid agenda has now turned into Akufo-Addo going to beg people and saying that we should be left free of our debts. So our debts should be written off so that we can borrow more. When people brought in the whole Ghana Beyond Aid agenda, you know, it's like cutting your coat according to your size. Senna. We have always been very practical. We know our current state. If I do not own a shoe, let me not go and brag of possessing a closet full of shoes in maybe a matter of 1 month. Because if you one, answer niyako 2, answer niyako 3. So let's be practical, especially when we know that we want to change. But no, from 2016, 2017, 2018, we heard Ghana Beyond Aid. Wow, the Messiah had really arrived, and saying that all the problems that they said Ghana had were going to be washed away so soon because of their arrival, and Ghana will be beyond aid in the nearest possible time. Today, this government has borrowed more than 300% of what it came to meet in a matter of 7 years, more than any government has ever done. This is the Ghana Beyond Aid. Ghana Beyond what aid? Ghana Beyond what aid, Senna? There are very serious questions that we should ask ourselves, dream about, and never stop talking about. So that at every point in time, when somebody brings up a topic, trying to make it look like they are doing their best, we ask them those questions, answer them, or else we don't go forward. Today our city is here, and what are we doing about it? We have said it so much that nobody is willing to address the issue of the city. Unfortunately, in 2015, 2016, somewhere 2013, you ask anything, and the president, who was a responsible man, who was ready to face anything, will come and then clearly address Ghana and tell us what it is that he has done so far and what it is that he's doing. Today, we are all speaking about the city. Senna, markets, by December, nobody would have touched the topic of city because there is nothing anybody can do about it. And they have ignored the fact that there was ever a promise anyway. They have ignored the fact that we are just going to sit down and ignore everything as if it never happened. I'm a young girl and I'm a young business owner myself. And I'm saying that it is deplorable. I want somebody who will tell me the truth to their face, to our faces, and who will tell me the processing and how gradual it will be, so that I'll expect exactly what he has promised. And then I know that if it's even going to take 4 years, or it's going to take some discomfort on all of us to be able to stabilize the city again, even if not to stop it from ever depreciating, at least slowly as possible. As slowly as possible. I prefer such a man than someone who sugarcoats issues and make it look like that is it. Once I come, I snap my fingers like this and everything is done because I know where the power button is and I know how to press that power button. This is the kind of situation that we are in. I'm really imploring all of us that this is not the end that we should look at. There is nothing that can be done because the mistake has already happened. However, we always have that power to make sure it doesn't happen the second time. Lest we stand the chance of looking like fools again. We stand the terrible chance of looking like fools again. So today, what would we do when we see somebody standing out there and claiming that he is the man that we should give the second chance to? I leave that question to every youth who is really focused, who knows at least 10 years of the history of Ghana, to decide for themselves. Because I can't decide for anybody. I have decided myself, but I can't continue deciding for anybody. But this is it. Let's look at 2016 and let's look at now. Let's look at people who take responsibilities for what they've done. People who will not sugarcoat issues. We have men on this table, and I must say that one of the biggest issues that have ever occurred when it comes to relationship with men and women are the fact that there is a very long history of men who like to promise and women who like to believe. No, this is a very practical thing that I think every lady in my shoe or every man will understand. I have seen Honorable there smiling. The idea of promising and not being fulfilled can be very painful and emotionally damaging. And it comes from father-daughter relationship. When you believe that your father can do magic and he tells you he can and he doesn't do it. It comes from wife-husband relationship it comes from girlfriend-boyfriend relationship, and currently politician and grassroots person relationship, or how do I say, civilian relationship?
Citizen, yeah. Politician, citizen.
Politician, citizen, and you were saying side chicks, right?
Politicians and side chicks.
Whatever. Sana, as much as we would like to laugh around this topic, the idea of being disappointed because somebody has stated that I can do this and didn't deliver is emotionally traumatizing. You may end up not believing people again, and if for nothing at all, that has been the reason why people over the years have expressed their mistrust for politicians. It is not every politician that has contributed to that factor. It is some. A very typical example being Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and his boss, President Akufo-Addo. I would say time and again that we shouldn't let this happen to us twice, because currently our lives are being affected everywhere. At first, when you go to Kumasi, it was one of the places that we spoke about cheap and quality food. So I lie.
Point.
Today you eat fufu at Jofel or Makion for not less than 300 cedis a plate. You eat fufu in Kumasi for not less than 300 cedis a plate if you want to eat well. Everything has become expensive because everything is leaning on fuel prices. Every fuel price is leaning on the dollar. And our lives have been turned around into a very negative way. And unfortunately, we have decided to ignore it. When Peace Council used to talk about dollar, today they are silent. Peace Council used to go past peace issues and talk about dollar. Today they are silent. When everything is being affected by the dollar. And my fear is the silence because of fear.
Okay.
The silence that we are portraying because of fear. And I would add just a very simple example that just happened. Okay. When the nurse came out.
And conclude on that note.
Yes, I'm concluding on that note. When the nurse came out to speak about her own allowance. I don't know if you all heard, but she was attacked severally. She said that she had even received death threats. And that is the kind of fear that is suppressing Ghanaians from voicing out their current situation, their deplorable situation. I have left a lot of questions. I always do when I'm on this platform, and I'm hoping that we take it very seriously. But once again, in a very serious country, Bawumia will not be given any platform or have the audacity to address any serious audience, especially not about contesting for an election again and ruling over Ghana again. Sena, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jifa. Jifa Tegan is a deputy national woman organizer of the National Democratic Congress. And if you're just joining us, the matter of all talk shows, Alhaji and Alhaji, we are live on Pan-African Television. Of course, we are live from the Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah studios of Pan-African Television. We are live on Radio Gold, and many other affiliates across the country. We are live on Facebook, Pan-African Television. We are live on YouTube, Pan-African Television. Those are the platforms on which we are live. Let me do just a few messages. This one is Lengi Chawenate, who only reminds us the pound is 18 Ghana cedis. Magdo says Dr. Bawumia should never ever discuss or say anything about economics. In opposition, he was preaching voodoo economics theories and people believed he had the panacea to our economic problems. Today, he has stopped discussing his voodoo economics and talking about digitalization. Never again should Ghanaians make mistake to hand over the leadership of the country to him. Magdo sent that from Alhaji. Salma Aminu Dankofa says, my problem is MPP supporters. I don't know if they also live in Ghana. Mohamed Osman is sending us a message as Dr. Bawumia held lectures with a tie to restoring the value of the cedi. Today, he is having the opportunity to practice and put the cedi in line with the dollar, but he's confused. Again, he asked the late VIP 117 questions. Today, a female nurse asked her one question, which he finds it difficult to just to answer. Please tell Mr. Solo that Allah didn't just fall from heaven. He was part of those who created the mess. So he should keep quiet in the studio. Osman Tariq sent that. Osman Tariq sent that through Facebook. Yes, Musa Bato is also joining us. Sana, and in an era defined by rapid technological evolution and global connectivity, a country that's blessed abundantly with resources cannot service the public there because of borrowing, corruption, and mismanagement. Hence, cedi keeps depreciating. Yet amidst the tide of progress, Ghana finds itself at a crossroad. grappling with the stark reality of the MPP government's failure to adequately address the bankrupt economy. However, the 24-hour economy is the panacea numerous problems facing the ordinary citizen. Sami Zameku says the MPP should not be given a room to rule this country again and again. They have messed up everything, drained every valuable asset, and put the ordinary citizen into real poverty. What a government. Hey, he concludes. Ebenezanunu says, please. Okay, thank you very much for this message. Okay, so, Mr. Pratt.
Well, I think the first important statement to make is that the depreciation of the cedi has many dimensions, and it's not a very simple issue to discuss. Indeed, it can, be discussed for all the 3 hours that this program has. The other panelists have discussed many aspects, of the problem. And I intend to focus attention on just 1 or 2 aspects of the problem, which may not even be economic, but nonetheless are very significant. Now, the most important thing for me is that it has to do with our politics, how we vote, and how we examine promises which are made by politicians. Because I recall that not too long ago, just about 7 years ago, a little over 7 years ago, we were in an election season as we are today. And one of the contenders, the New Patriotic Party, and its leaders made a huge promise to Ghana. Now, at the time, the dollar was being exchanged, $1 was exchanging at the rate of less than 4 cedis. It was 3 point something, less than 4 cedis. Now, the New Patriotic Party and its leaders looked us in the face and said that was catastrophic. And that if we voted for them, they would stabilize the cedi. Now, this is very important for me. This is a major promise that they made to us. Okay. Now, since then, we voted after 4 years, and we are just about to vote again. Now, the immediate question is, were they able to fulfill this promise? And the answer is no. Because from less than 4 cedis to $1, we've now reached a situation of 15 cedis to $1. Now, this is crazy. You understand? They've not stabilized the cedi. The cedi has gone haywire. 15 cedis to $1. That is where we are now. Now, so we can make the point about them not fulfilling their electoral promise. And we can punish them, or indeed we should punish them for not fulfilling that promise. But I think it's important that we don't leave it just at that. This should become the reminder that promises are glibly made in the election frenzy. And therefore, we should be listening to the politicians very, very closely and examining the promises that they make. Okay? And now, they are making fantastic promises again. I mean, I'm hearing some of the promises, and I'm wondering what these politicians take us for. And I mean it, these politicians. What do they take us for? The other day, I heard a gentleman who is also so anxious to become president and so on. And one of the promises he has made is simply that he will go to Jamestown. You see Jamestown, you see that it's a seashore. And he would make sure that he would divert the sea all the way from Jamestown to Bantama in Kumasi. What is the cost of such a project? What is the cost of such a project? And in any case, do we want the sea in Bantama? And if we manage to take the sea to Bantama, what advantage does it give us? And so on. Is it even technically feasible to take the sea to Bantama? You understand? So that promise needs to be examined in much the same way that the promise which was made by Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia to stabilize the city needs to be made. You understand? Now, there were some other promises which had been made in the past. I'm not going to go there. I mean, Kwiadonko was excellent at making fantastic promises. I don't think that she's any longer in the race, and there's no point visiting some of the promises that she made and so on. But this is where we are. Now, the continued devaluation of the city. What is it that leads the city to be devalued regularly and constantly and so on? What is it? This morning, my good friend and brother from Ododo did his analysis. And he made the point that the dollar is actually, in real terms, a worthless piece of paper. And that is true. The dollar is not backed by anything. When the United States government needs money to do anything, it just prints. And as a matter of fact, the cost of printing the cedi is far higher than the cost of printing the dollar. Check. Because the cedi has a lot of colors. The dollar at most has 3 colors. So in terms of cost of printing, the cedi is more expensive to print than the dollar. And yet the dollar, which is backed by nothing, just printed piece of paper, appears to have or does have a lot of value which the cedi doesn't have. Why? You see, when we are dealing with currencies derive their value from the level of confidence people have in the economy of the issuing country. That's all. The dollar has become the currency of choice for international trade, only as a matter of confidence. It is not that, and he said that brilliantly, it's not that they are producing a lot of gold. In fact, the US economy is in near recession. Okay? But why? Because everybody wants the dollar for international trade. And because everybody wants the dollar for international trade because of some assumed or real confidence in the economy of the United States of America, its value keeps shooting up. Indeed, even against the euro, the dollar hasn't done badly at all. You understand? So it simply means that there's no confidence in the Ghanaian economy. I mean, recently when the dollar hit 14.2 cedis, there was a shortage of dollars on the market. Why was there a shortage of dollars on the market? Because people believe that if you keep your money in cedis, you would lose. and that it is more sensible to keep your money in dollars. So there was a rush for dollars. Now that rush for dollars, people who have money, who were rushing to keep their money in dollars, itself devalues the cedi and increases the value of the dollar. So we are dealing at a certain level with confidence, just confidence. That intangible thing called confidence is what we are dealing with. Okay. So therefore, there's another question. How come that the confidence in the Ghanaian economy is so very low? The confidence in the Ghanaian economy is so very low for a number of reasons. And one of the major reasons is that we have become import dependent. Look, the problems that we suffer in the economy, the value of the currency and so on, is traceable to the 1966 coup, February 24th, 1966 coup, when a group of nitwits and bandits and political ignoramuses decided to truncate the part of national development, the program for national development, which the Nkrumah government had put in place. The Nkrumah government had crafted a 7-year development program aimed at the building of a self-reliant national economy. An economy which does not suffer, a cough when the economies of the metropolitan countries develop a cold. That was the kind of economy that the Nkrumah government wanted to build. What did they do? They came and dismantled that economic arrangement and recklessly embarked on the path of neoliberalism. And we are still on that path. The only government, and I mean it, the only government since February 24, 1966, which made an attempt to move away from what sometimes is described as the Goggisberg economy, the neoliberal order and so on, is the Achampong government. Finish. No other government. Okay? Now, some of the stories, if you tell them today, they will sound like Anansi stories. But they are important stories to repeat and repeat and repeat so that they serve as some kind of a warning for all of us. The Nkrumah government had established a tannery, that's the factory for making leather, at Avaime in Samuel Okujato Abrake's constituency. They had established a tannery. Now listen very carefully. They had also established a meat factory in Bolgatanga. I hope you're beginning to see the connection between tannery and meat factory. And then they had also established a shoe factory in Kumasi, and the connection must be very clear now. So, initially, we were to bring in cows, okay? Deskin the cows for the tannery at Avaime, to turn the skin into leather for the production of shoes in the Kumasi shoe factory, and to can the meat in Bolgatanga, the corned beef project, the cannery in Bolgatanga. So you see the connection. Now what happened? When the 1966 coup occurred, these brigands, these fools, these ignorant people killed the cattle and used the meat for pepper soup. Yeah, they used the meat for pepper soup. Now, if you do this to your economy, what do you expect to happen? You expect your cedi to rise? Obviously not. You see, now, there's a lot of talk about land grabbing. You go to Laboni, see Laboni, go to Laboni. You see the street in front of the South African embassy. Go and see what is happening there. All the government lands have been taken over by private interests. And go and check which private interest is doing that. So they are building monstrous structures on these government bungalows and so on, just in front of the, and this is very important, okay? Now, does it make sense? How does that promote our economy and so on? You see, the colonialists, those who colonized us, those who enslaved us, so they built the Ridge Hospital, which is now the Greater Accra Regional Hospital. Think about it. It used to be an European-only hospital. I mean, since Nkrumah has now become a hospital for everybody and so on. But before, when I was growing up, it was referred to as the European hospital. People who look like you did not go to that hospital for treatment. Okay? Now, in their wisdom, they decided to build bungalows around the hospital. Bungalows, there are plenty of bungalows around the hospital. Now, those bungalows, the doctors lived there. So if there was an emergency, the doctor just walks to the theater, walks to the OPD, walks to the hospital to deal with the emergency. You may not see the economic sense there, but there's a lot of economic sense there. Cost of running the hospital is reduced. Health as a factor for economic development is tackled, and so many aspects. Okay. Today, what has happened? Very sensible politicians have decided that the doctors should not live there, and that the bungalows around Ridge Hospital should be privatized. And they have privatized those bungalows. To the extent that I know a doctor working at Ridge Hospital who lives at Kaswa. Now just imagine that there's a national emergency. How does this doctor come from Kaswa to the hospital to perform his or her duties? If it rains, that one, forget it. If it doesn't rain, traffic alone will take care of that business, and so on. So it doesn't make sense. The things we've done in the past do not make sense. The things we are doing now do not make sense at all. It does not promote any confidence in the economy, and so on. Now, my brother, 7 years ago, our president boldly walked to the microphones. Boldly, chest out, walked to the microphones and said he had seen God. He had had a conversation with God. And in the conversation with God, he had promised God that he would build a house for God. God needs accommodation. My brother, God is homeless. That he will build a house for God. This is God who supposedly created heaven and earth. Created the galaxy. The galaxy, you know how big the galaxy is? But he's homeless. God is a homeless person and needs a house. A lot of people spoke a lot of sense. Nobody listened. So we started building a house for God. You understand? Now, we took 200 million. 200 million. Is it dollars?
Cities, yeah. No.
Whatever it is, something worth 200 million.
Yes.
And we dug the biggest and most expensive hole in the world. Does that not affect your CD dollar rate? It doesn't affect your CD dollar rate? It does. does, in many ways. But the worst part of it is that those responsible for digging this hole now turn around, they look around the country and they say, look, some people are very, very incompetent. They are the only competent people in the world. Competence? Is this competence? And the people they are accusing of incompetence say, look, they built the Greater Accra Regional Hospital at an inflated cost. They are incompetent. They are thieves. The hospital is there. It's taking patients. Let us agree that the hospital was built at an inflated cost. Is it not there? Is it not functioning? Is it not dealing with complicated surgeries and so on? So if that is incompetence, building the Greater Accra Regional Hospital is incompetence, is a mark of incompetence, what then is the whole near Parliament House? What does it signify? And so on. Shocking. I'm told that the exact amount of money which was spent on digging that hole was spent on building the Sagrami housing project. That's what I've been told. So look at Sagrami. Look at the hole. Who is incompetent? Who is incompetent? I mean, amazing. Amazing. You understand? Now, how do you generate confidence in the economy? You generate confidence in the economy by first and foremost making true statements about the economy. True statements. When the leadership of a country make false statements about the state of the economy and they are found out over and over and over again, it leads to the loss of confidence in the economy. Okay. Now, look at the kinds of statements we've been making about the state of the economy and how to move forward and so on. I mean, one politician, he looked us in the face and courageously told us that taking loans is an abomination. But why are we taking loans? You don't have to take loans to develop. All you have to do is to toll your roads. And if you toll your roads and you collect the road tolls properly, you would never have to borrow. Obviously, this politician was coming from Cuckoo's land. There is no country anywhere in the world which has developed simply because it collected road tolls. If you collect it efficiently, it may finance the construction of roads. That's all. And, Master, the instruments for borrowing, the mechanism for borrowing and so on, is available to all of us, and you borrow under some circumstances. Now, this chap, I don't want to mention his name because everybody knows him already. In fact, everybody knows even his nickname. His nickname is most exciting. His nickname is Timothy. You know? Now, Senna, listen to me. He's in a government that has borrowed more than any other government in our history. Check the records. More than any other government in the 67-year history of Ghana after independence. So, we should be listening to them very carefully today. We should be weighing the promises they make. And we should be careful not to vote for people who talk glibly. Because if you vote for glib talkers, in the final analysis, the price of Kinky moves from 50 pesos to 5 cedis in 6 years. If you vote for people who talk glibly, in the final analysis, within a 7-year period, the value of your cedi decreases from 3 point something to $1 to 15 cedis to $1. if you listen to people who talk glibly, in the final analysis, what you have is what we have today in Ghana. You understand? Now, what is it that we ought to do in order to lift the city up? There are many things we have to do. Not one of them on its own is a solution. You have to do a combination of many things. Okay. One most important thing that we have to do is to stop our dependence on imports. Because if your economy is dependent on imports, you suffer from imported inflation. When there's any economic difficulty in countries from which you import, it does affect you. You understand? It does affect your economy. So we need to think about how we can avoid import dependence. And there are many ways in which we can do that. One of the things I want to talk about, I used to talk about it and some people thought that it was a crazy idea, but it's important. How many of us eat cocoa in Ghana? How many of us eat cocoa and cocoa products in Ghana? Very few. And yet we've put a lot of our effort into cocoa production, a commodity which we don't consume. Is it sensible to export cocoa and import rice? Would it not be more sensible to produce rice instead of cocoa? And mind you, all the 16 regions of Ghana have favorable conditions for the cultivation of rice. And indeed, the quality of rice which is produced in Ghana is much higher than the imported white rice that we bring into the economy. Maybe we should begin to think about what we produce, begin to evaluate the usefulness of what we produce to ourselves. That may be one of the steps that we need to take in order to address this economic quagmire that we find ourselves in. But you see, but there's something also very interesting. In the period of 7 years that the new patriotic party has been in power, the level of cocoa production has been reduced by 50%. Check the figures. 50% reduction in the level of cocoa production. Today, cocoa is selling at the highest price
in history
since Tetekwashi brought cocoa to the Krapim Mountains. Today, if you go to the New York Stock Exchange, it's phenomenal. But you see, Ghana is not benefiting from this huge monumental increase in the price of cocoa. First of all, because we are underproducing, and secondly, because we do forward sales. The cocoa we are producing this year was sold maybe last year or 3 years ago. So we are doing forward sales. So we are not benefiting from the rise in the price of cocoa on the world market. We are not benefiting at all. Massa, even the Rawlings administration, and I am saying this advisedly, even the Rawlings administration, because no government in Ghana has embarked on the path of neoliberalism to the extent that the Rawlings regime did in 1982, 1983. You can check the record. Under the marching orders of the IMF and the World Bank, we did crazy things in this country in 1982-83. The national currency was massively devalued. Retrenchment of labor resulted in 300,000 workers losing their job. Check the figures from the Trade Union Congress of Ghana. We embarked on a massive privatization of state enterprises to the extent that we actually set up a structure to sell state enterprises headed by the late Mr. Ebotewia and so on. You understand? But even under the Rawlings government, efforts were made in order to build factories that turn cocoa beans into usable products and exportable products. And so even under Rawlings, what is happening under this government? This government will prides itself that it has the men. And when they talk about having the men and so on, you know what they mean? You know. Now there are people with some academic credentials, doubtful academic credentials. As they are talking about people who went to Yale, who went to Oxford,
Cambridge.
Thank you, sir. Who went to Cambridge and so on. That's what they're talking about. But if you look at the records, when I was growing up, the managing directors of the state enterprises who did so well, Akasa, Numa and so on, many of them had never stepped in a university before. Many of them were middle school leavers. And they ran this country. They expanded access to education. They increased the industrial capacity and so on. There were even ministers who had never been to secondary school before. Ministers, never been to secondary school before. Check their records against the Cambridge people and the Oxford people and so on. Check the records. You understand? So I think, fraying from this, that one of the things we ought to do is to assign responsibility to people who have the capacity, who have the knowledge, people who understand the Ghanaian society, and so on. Those are the people we have to assign responsibilities to. Not those who come in front of us with a chain of useless degrees and so on. And I'm going to say something, my brother. I'm going to say something. I've been wanting to say this for a very long time. But I've always been afraid. Because if you say it, they will come to you and say, bring the proof, and so on. Sana, but you all know that what I'm going to say is true. Except that you don't have the courage to say it publicly. Right now, as we sit here, you know, there's a boom in university degrees. Everybody is going for masters. Some have triple masters and so on. How do they obtain those masters? Do they study to obtain them? No. Sana, speak the truth. Do they study to obtain them? Master, do they study to obtain them? Because I know how some of them obtain those masters. Today, there's a racket. You can actually employ people to do your master's program for you if you have money. Yes. You can have triple masters anytime. You just employ 3 teams. They will write your thesis for you, they will do everything for you, and then you'll be awarded a master's degree. So those people who are carrying master's degrees on their heads, looking for jobs and so on, check their capability. They may not have done the masters by themselves. If I lie, tell me that I lie. I will apologize.
100% right.
No, when you go, when you go to Lagos, there are adverts suggesting that if you want to write thesis,
yes, you can call this number.
It's boldly written. They are writing thesis.
And it goes just beyond the thesis. Yes. They do more.
Yeah, they do almost
everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So if somebody comes and is looking for a job and all they bring is a master's degree, be careful. Because they may not have written any exam by themselves. They paid somebody to write it for them. You understand? That is the worth of some of the degrees that people are parading around today. And any wonder these people come with triple masters, fourple, is there anything like fourple? Quadruple masters. And so on. And then we give them jobs and then total failure. Basa, nyama, like that. So, my brother, let's begin to build this country on the basis of proving competence rather than on the basis of the certificates people throw into our faces. And I'll tell you another story. I was in the UK. This was 1991. I was in the UK. And I went into one building, boldly labeled University of something something, near the London Bridge. One building, university. A friend of mine was there, and I went to see him, you know. And I was offered a PhD. Yeah. I was offered a PhD. What do you do to earn a PhD? You pay a certain amount of money, and then you go through a few processes and so on. And they will give you a PhD. Plus the PhD ring. Have you seen the PhD ring before? Huh?
I've not seen that one before.
No! Now,
PhD ring, yeah.
People wear PhD rings.
Hey.
Yes. It's so easily obtainable in the US and in the UK and so on. They will give you a full certificate. I've forgotten how much it is. Something very small, something less than 200 pounds or so. You will get your PhD. And they will give you the ring on top. And the ring is not small, it's beautiful, proper. You haven't seen, now that I've told you, when you see people walking around, look at their fingers. Some of them are actually wearing PhD rings. Yeah, PhD rings. They are big and beautiful. So you go and give the economy to PhD ring wearers. And when you give the economy to PhD ring wearers, what can you expect? And then my final statement, that's very simple. You see, God, whichever God you believe in, because there are different concepts of God.
Yeah.
But whichever God you believe in and worship, that God is not an economist. Whichever God you believe in, you understand? Master, if prayers could change things in Ghana or anywhere in the world, we will not be having doomsday today. Because the cassock wearing priests who traveled to Akosombo to go and pray over the dam, they were not small priests though. I mean, in terms of size, they were not small. Some of them, their pot bellies, you would think that they were pregnant. Okay? Big priests. In terms of reputation, they were big and so on. They prayed and prayed and prayed over the Akosombo Dam, and we still had doomsday. And we are still having doomsday. What lesson should that teach us? That solving doomsday is not a matter of prayer. Before this limited voter registration exercise started, did you see that woman on the Electoral Commission? Senna, if you tell me that you didn't see her, I'll be very angry with you.
Which woman?
That woman on the Electoral Commission who put the machines down, I think on the table. What? And prayed over the machines. The voter machines were not working, the BIDs and so on, they were not working. This electoral commissioner, instead of looking for mechanics and paying the mechanics to repair the machines, decided to anoint the machines. And she prayed over them. Hey, she prayed. What happened? So this nonsense of praying our problems away, we should stop it immediately. Because we know that it doesn't work. It didn't stop doomsday. It didn't stop the huge errors in the voter registration exercise. And I don't see how it's going to make the CD rise. Because already we have seen an archbishop. Why are you laughing? Is it not what I'm saying? Is it not true? Yeah. A full archbishop in white cassock with red trimmings and some hat on top, commanding the city to rise.
Rise city.
You can be a good preacher. The voice.
You have the voice.
Rise city, rise.
No,
You should consider the business.
And that day, the city fell. In the name of God, I command the city to rise. Why do you mock God? Those things, they don't matter when it comes to the value of the city. When it comes to the value of the city, you can't command the city to rise. You have to do sensible and practical things for the city to rise. Not commanding the city to rise. My brother, finish.
Thank you very much. I didn't know that we could have been calling you Comrade Dr. Kwesi Pratt. We could have been calling you Comrade Dr. Kwesi Pratt. All you needed was a few pounds. And I'm sure you even had it.
Forget it.
Thank you, as always. Let's say a big thank you to Shine FM and Akati on 96.9. We are also live on Hills FM and Adaklo on 91.7, Nuwasi Radio Ketekrachi on 89.7, and Sela Radio Dabala 97.1, Diamond FM in Tamale on 93.7, Bewa Radio Yendi on 106.5, Radio Kitawon in Saboba 95.7, Benya FM Elmina 105.7, Global FM 105.1 in Ho. Zebs FM is on 95.1 is on 95.9 actually in Zebila. True FM is on 92.5 in Adeso. La Maria FM on 89.1 in Tripoli. Buem is on 88.7 FM in Jasican. Lukusi is on 96.1 dial in Virgo Lokwati. Tyne FM is on 90.9. Sekbele FM 104.3 and Akpini Radio in Pandu. Thank you all for giving us your platform over this period to air the mother of all talk shows, Alhaji and Alhaji, live from the Alhaji for Dr. Kwame Nkrumah studios of Pan African Television, live on TV on Pan African Television, live on radio Gold, and of course on our social media platforms. We have to move on to the very next discussion. Don't have so much time. We can do 5 minutes each for the last issue, and this time around, start with Jifa on the matter of the limited voter registration exercise. Jifa.
Okay, Senna. So thank you once again. This was a topic that I was hoping to talk about for more than 5 minutes. However, I'll try and No, it's okay. The reason why I say this is that there is somebody that I know that mentioned to me that, elections, apart from the fact that it's not being won on election day, the progress of any election starts way before, and one of the very sensitive parts, or some of the very sensitive exercises, is the voters registration exercise. The violence around is all over. Unfortunately for us, we have now gained this new habit of our leaders staying very silent and neutral when people are being attacked wrongly or when there are wrongdoings happening. And I quite remember that one person who championed some of these activities or some of these new culture of living is our very own president. When in 2020, despite everything that went on in the country, despite the fact that they eventually were declared the winners, he decided to stay mute to certain brutalities that happened during elections. I also West being one of them, and also the Techiman issue being one of them. About 3 issues that have happened recently in connection to violence in this registration exercise. And the first one that I would like to talk about is the Esutifi South issue with Honorable Collins Dauda. When I heard from the police statement, this is something that we want to hold very credible, that the Honorable MP has been arrested because there were some disturbances in his constituency and he was identified. Only for us to come and hear the actual happenings, and none of the issues that the police reported were true. In fact, the incident didn't happen in his constituency. It happened outside of his constituency and he wasn't even there at the time. My fear is how the police was so quick to react and wasn't quick enough to even retract what they said. when we came to hear the incident. However, I would want us to drag this conversation down here in Greater Accra region, my own constituency, Okaikwe North constituency, where you have a group of men, a gang of young men who are just close to the registration center and are posed as criminals because they are smoking and they have ammunition and so much, and they are so close to the site. The MP at the area decided that this is not supposed to be harbored around this registration center. We shouldn't even allow something to happen first. And so we call on the police to come and quickly, arrest them. They were indeed arrested, about 20 of them, with so much ammunition, so much, I don't want to call it drugs, on them. That clearly positions them as criminals. And so there hasn't been any report by the police, or there hasn't been any statement by the police as quickly as happened in Esutifi South. And as I am seated, it is quite obvious from all our searches that there are lots of high and big wigs who are trying to grant these people bail through the police, or they are mounting pressure on the police to grant them bail. I am saying that it has become a norm of the opposition being a target and those in power being protected. And it is starting way from now. My fear is what it channels or what it elaborates during election. Because we know that everything that happens in the registration period is even times 2 worse of what happens during election. I really would want us to look closely and to be bolder, because we cannot be allowed to be suppressed. The media is already suppressed in several ways. The common voter, the civilian, the citizen shouldn't also be suppressed. But the registration issues and the violence that are relating to it have become a matter of what we can handle and how we would put ourselves together. Because none of our leaders will come out to stand for us. None of them will come out to call on to the security institutions to stand for the civilians, or yes, let me just use the word civilians. None of them would come to our aid. It has become a banter, and I only fear what is going to happen in 2024 elections this year. I'm just hoping that in all that we are doing, we gather some sort of courage and know that that is the only way that we can really liberate ourselves from what we are going through. So generally, I'll just end by saying that the security issues are deplorable, and it is only projecting what we are to expect during the 2024 December polls, or the December elections. And I'm hoping that the IGP with his people, unfortunately, I'm beginning to feel that the IGP will soon come out and tell us that he's also being a mate and not a driver, because I've realized that the enthusiasm with which he started has reduced drastically, and you can understand the banter or the battle that he seems to be having with the current government. I am really hoping that the police will do their job right, and they can instill some hope in the citizens. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you. Adam Kojuanku Intama says, please ask Zulu, assuming Mr. Alan Chimantin was successful or elected as MPP presidential candidate, would he speak the same about MPP? This means that the Afro-Franto Party and MPP are the same. Let's rally behind the ADM for our second independence. That's another message. This one from Justice Kmonyo says, defeating corruption in Ghana is a fight impossible. Corruption has become normal activity in everyday living of the Ghanaian, and it is very worse under the mother serpent of corruption, President Akufo-Addo Bawumia. The alacrity with which the president forwarded the petition to the judiciary suggested he was okay. Thank you very much for that message. As Hadi Mp from Senado has called the bluff of the entire nation, being president for almost 8 years and protected by the constitution in and out of office, and as such an old age has nothing to lose. He still has support from some citizens. We have indeed lost, and he is the winner. I now understand that sometimes bad wins. That is life. It shall be well. Mother Ghana will move on from his Nanado Bawumia shame government. Fellow Ghanaians, vote wisely. Come December 7th, vote John and Jane. That's coming from Hadi in Pigfarm. Thank you. Solo.
Tesla, I think it's becoming one too many. If Allah had won the elections, would he have been saying whatever he's saying? And has been corroborated by Sergeant Takatapori in the piece that I read. Let me say that Mr. Alan Chimantin never lost any primaries. People must get this straight. We went into a contest to to select 5 to go and contest the main election. He was amongst the 5, and he said the principles for which the NPP was established, they were no longer following it. So he decided to go out. People must get it and get it straight. Senator, I have not seen any government use violence to win any election that the majority of the people do not support. I mean, you can be a government if you have popular support from the citizenry, then some of these violence, if you employ, you may succeed. The New Patriotic Party didn't come to power in 2016 through violence. You sold your message, and the Ghanaians bought into your ideas and said, yes, you deserve to win. They voted for you. Same way in 2020. So what is this business of people trying to introduce violence and think that they will win this election through violence? It's not going to happen. As we speak, we have more than 17 million Ghanaians in the voter register. This same 17 million were the ones that elected President Akufo-Addo. Majority of them elected President Mahama. So if any of these two political parties are not confident that these 17 million will give them power, then they must forget about election 2024. The attempt to register minors, the attempt to register foreigners, is unthinkable. It's madness of the highest order, and you must speak against it. And the police must up their game, because if you look at what is happening in the various polling stations, it questions the integrity of the police. And here I'm asking whether their show of, their unconcerned nature is due to the fact that an active participant, stakeholder in this election, that is Dr. Baumia, as a result of he being the chairman of the police council, is putting some fear into them. That is why they are failing to act. Because what happened at Edujama, where machetes were flowing left, right, center, was a despicable act right in front of the police. And we are yet to see any major action that has been taken by the IGP and his management. It's rather unfortunate. Again, we are learning that some names are being deleted in the Upper West region. For what? For what? Coming out of the background that machines that were under 24-hour surveillance have been stolen from the Electoral Commission's possession. Now we are told that network, you go to various polling registration centers, networks are not working. We haven't heard from the network providers whether or not what the Electoral Commission is telling us is the truth. If network is not working, it is for the network providers to tell us why it is not working. And immediately they move out of that. They come and tell us that, no, we will move to the offline. What is in that offline thing that the Electoral Commission keeps insisting? Because we know, and the Electoral Commission itself has told us, that the offline can lead to double registration. So if you know that the offline can lead to double registration, why is it that you yourself, you are pushing for offline? Do you want Ghanaians to be registering 224455? And when you juxtapose this to what the New Patriotic Party is saying through its members, that they are not going to win election 2024 based on their performance in government, but that they are going to use strategies. Is it one of those strategies? No, nobody wins election that. And you see, is there when is going to, there is going to be a heavy storm, is the wind that predates it. What has happened during this registration must give anybody that has any intention, iota of intention of trying to fidget with election 2024 to have a second look at his or her strategy. Because election 2024 at the various polling stations, this current president told us that everybody has 2-2. You remember 2-2, minu. So he should not lead us into temptation. I have never seen people that are rich, that are interested in black sucking, that wants to see blood flow. You people have amassed wealth. Instead of you to go quietly, You want to plunge this country into chaos? That poor man on the street, what has he got to lose? So it is better we play by the rules. And the Electoral Commission must listen. Jane Mensah must not behave as though she is the I am that I am. No, it doesn't work like that. Common arithmetic, 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. You are not getting it right. So how can we be assured that during the elections or on the election day you can get the figures accurately, especially when your own records suggest otherwise? Who is pushing them to do all the wrong things? Who? There must be something wrong, Senna. It's not a good thing. But we are monitoring the situation carefully. And I can assure you that the new Patriotic Party will go out of office for Alan to take over as the president of the land.
Thank you. Thank you. This one is from Alhaji. Is it Polo Dangaladima? I hope I got your name right. It says, my disturbance is this importation of chicken legs and gizzard with dollars. Why? So Ghanaians cannot produce chicken. Wallahi, it's a shame. There's this one coming from Azad from Tadi who says, Akufo-Addo finished us with all his super incompetent government. There's Gottfried Richardson. The 7-year development plan is still available. He says, Nkrumah was too much, such a selfless and brainy man. There's Kofi Azalete. This one is addressed to Mr. Pratt. Says, please don't exaggerate the guy whom I don't support. The guy whom I don't support didn't say what you're giving the impression to be. Taking to the sea to Kumasi. Solo, I think you're an engineer. You're an engineer, right?
I'm an economist.
Okay. Says taking the sea to Kumasi is feasible, not from Jamestown, but from the estuary Pra.
Who is that?
His name is Kofi Azalete. No. Estuary Pra, that's what he wrote.
His stuff is borrowed from estuary Pra.
Not from Jamestown, but from somewhere else. Okay.
Well, Jamestown, I would have asked where would he relocate us to?
Maybe you want to find another place or Yarpa for you.
Well, I believe in one thing. If the foundation is not balanced, the superstructure will certainly not balance. We call something in our profession forced landing. I think what the EC has engaged in over the period is a matter of forced landing. And I don't think it is good for anybody. Nonetheless, we as political parties must also show a bit of understanding of the system. I quite remember the registration, the limited registration before this registration. What we did in Odododiodo in the first day without their knowledge was to reconcile all the serial numbers, record everybody who turned out at the polling station to register. And when we got back in the evening and decided to reconcile, we had realized that the forms, some of the forms were not issued in our presence. And some of the registrations were not done in our presence. And so that same evening, we wrote a nice letter to the EC. And quickly, there was one registration machine inside the office that came out to join the other two that we thought was what was being used. I think that if we are smart about some of these things, it will not really matter if somebody wants to bring cutlass to the registration center. He will still be defeated. Look, my greatest fear is that I know some of the characters there, and Solo knows them. In 2020, they had I won't say they have perfected the system of using at least 3 or 4 regions to win a general elections in Ghana. If we give them the chance, 2024, and they perfect that system, elections in Ghana will be useless. So it's just not about the cry. We need also to be smart on the ground. And I think that is what we are missing, watching some of the things going on and the news coming out. I think we are missing. Because I have approached a lot of people and asked, so what do you do after the registration for a day? They don't know. You see, in the last registration before this, I can tell you I had all the figures. I can tell you which quarters each registrant was coming from. Because we had to do that extra work to assure ourselves that, yes, these are people who are legitimate and they have to register. Got onto the register. Well, in terms of violence, or I should say war, nobody becomes a winner at the end of the day. So I don't know if that is their strategy. But my only advice is that nobody will win. If we turn this into a chaotic scene, there will be no winner in this. In terms of the police, yes, I can say it is not widespread. But let's look at where we are having issues. Mostly, these are swing areas. And that is where they need a checkmate. Because if the swing areas should swing very well in these elections, then the MPP will be badly hurt. I think the margin will go beyond 1.5 million. If the swing areas should really swing. And I can see a hand that wants to prevent that. They have looked at the numbers, they have looked at the dynamics, and they believe that that is the only thing that can save them. We equally, in the NDC, I don't know about the front, must also look at the same numbers and put in strategies from today that will ensure that we checkmate all these moves they are making. It is better to know that you have an EC that is against you and be well prepared for the EC from now all the way to elections. Everything that will happen on the front of our electoral process is necessary, and we must be strategic about it. You don't win wars by the level of ammunition you have, but the strategy you put in place. That is what makes you win war. And we must do it with all the vigor in us. I don't see myself living under another MPP government. The way things are going, I can't see myself. Some of us also cannot live in other countries. 1 week alone, we are already bored.
Yes, yes.
So the absence of KK will kill
Thank you. Dr. Kovasekwe says, Senator Kwesi is right. Those people use the beef for pepper soup. Not only that, they tend the hide into wele and add them too. That's coming from Doc. Good morning, Doc. There's Musa. Okay, I think I've read Musa Abato's comments on the other line. Mr. Pratt?
I just like to sound a note of caution. Look around the world. See all these countries where leaders try to rig elections by intimidating people and so on. What happened to those leaders? We know. We understand. See all these countries around the world where leaders ended their term limits and said, no, we will stay on, either personally or through surrogates, and see what happened in those countries. Why do we think that Ghana is different? That Ghana is so different that those things that happened in the many, many other countries cannot happen here. I think our leaders should look sharp. Look, this Akan proverb, "Sewunim uwa shenda," is very weighty. And I'm imploring our leaders to pay attention to this Akan proverb. Then also, Makabrofo, my brother, then also, there are institutions that we, the people of Ghana, have set up to prevent mayhem and chaos. And we have equipped these institutions to take appropriate action at the appropriate time. Listen to what I'm saying very carefully. I'm deliberately choosing my words. We have set up institutions and equipped these institutions to use some methods to intervene in order to prevent this country from falling into chaos. If we continue on this path, we would only be inviting those institutions to do what they are mandated to do by the constitution of this country. Don't blame you, don't blame anybody for the consequences of your own actions. Because voter registration exercise, small voter registration exercise, not the actual voting, what I saw was frightening. Two sides firing weapons at each other. Two sides. Now, if the police was to behave the way they had to behave and so on, what do you think that the police should have done? And if the police failed to restore order and so on, what do you think would happen next? The army is then invited in to restore order, to take over. You understand? So what is happening is most dangerous. And leaders of all the political parties must think twice and take measures to avert it. I've seen some things before. In my very short life, I've seen things. I saw the 1966 school with my eyes. I was at the Abavana Junction when the soldiers and people came to arrest Nkrumah's security men, and I saw the blood that flowed on the streets of Abavana Junction. You see that place where the PNC has its national headquarters? It's just close by. I saw it. I saw the blood that flowed at the Accra New Town Trotro station. Then it was the Lagos town. When some security personnel came to be arrested just right at the junction next to the post office. I saw it with my own eyes. I saw the mayhem that occurred at Kanda Estates. The number of people who lost their lives in the fighting on the streets of Kanda Estates. I saw it. I wasn't told, I saw it. I saw June 4th. June 4th, 1979. I saw it. December 31st, 1982. I saw it and I lived it. And I cannot forget that 264 people got missing in Ghana. I cannot forget it. Those of you who are misbehaving, who are buying guns for people to shoot at registration centers, those of you who are buying cutlasses and distributing them and so on, be careful. Be very, very careful. Because when it happens, it it will happen. I hope you understand what I'm saying. When it happens, it will happen. And nobody can be insulated. Look, December 1981, after the coup, my classmate, Lieutenant Emmanuel Tete, innocent person, he didn't carry a weapon, nothing. He woke up in the morning, was wearing tracksuit, was just going to jog, doing his normal, regular exercise. You know why? He was shot dead. We lost Emmanuel Tete. Why? Because there was some report that some dissidents had come and they were in tracksuit. So as soon as they saw him in tracksuit, they gunned him down. He died. So all these people, brainless people, who are buying weapons for people to go and disturb things, brainless people who are carrying weapons around and so on, I think they should be careful. Last week, I said something. If you don't want to die, don't do the things which will make you die. The consequences of this stupidity can be grave, especially for those who are perpetrating this. And Senna, say Electoral Commission, we give them bodyguards, some of them are protected by armored vehicles and so on. I'm sure their salaries are not small. They are not like the type you take at Radio Gold.
No,
so,
not close.
You understand? And they cannot do simple addition. They don't know 1 + 1. What are they sitting on the commission for? Every time they have to do addition, this country is in trouble. The last elections, they announced election results 3 times because they don't know how to add. When I went to school, I thought that addition was the easiest, the simplest. It was easier than subtraction. It was easier than division. It was easier than multiplication. This electoral commission is showing me that even simple 1 + 1 can be difficult. Because actually what they're doing is 1 + 1. One person registers at a time, another person registers, you add it, you get 2. You keep adding ones until you get the final figure. They can't do that. When they issue press statement, hey, stop there. Press statement, mistakes, so they have to record their statements. When they do addition, trouble. So what is this electoral commission capable of doing? Correct. I can't believe it. There is a certain Latin saying that we used to repeat. Videbimus. Yeah. Videbimus. I think there was something that we used to say in addition. Videbimus. Vide. Sena. Vide.
Videbimus is vide.
No.
Okay.
They'll carry on with their...
Check. Videbimus.
I see. Thank you very much. And we have to leave it there. There's a lot of happy birthdays because this week, Sunday, and I'm sure someone, Mr. Pratt, you know so well, Lawyer Kweku Mote Akpadi celebrated his 70th birthday, and then followed by Ambassador Sampiale, who celebrated his yesterday.
I don't know why Kweku Mote is also running to join the 70s. He should stay where he is. Why is he doing? Kweku Mote pa.
And also happy belated birthday to Samuel Kojo Ablodefe, my former colleague at Radio Gold, Professor Nanama Brown Kluche, who also celebrated her birthday yesterday, and a happy birthday to Patrick Ofosuotri in the UK.
I saw the men quickly. They mentioned 71.
No, this one was because
they will never give you.
Yeah.
Why?
No, this one was because it was 70th.
Who?
When he turns 70 years, it's a huge that we celebrate. We all celebrate. So
How
we'll
much you
mention.
understand? What about the professor? Did they give you her?
Professor Gucci.
No. I don't know her birthday.
And
How old she was?
Well, from now on, if you don't mention your age, we will not mention your birthday.
Why do you people always want to hide your age? Is there any problem?
And then a belated happy birthday to one of the producers of this show, Latifa Adam, celebrated her birthday early in the week. So belated happy birthday. Yes. It was actually, I think Monday. Yes. Monday when she celebrated her birthday. And of course, a big thank you to Kwame Kwesi Pratt Jr., who is General Secretary of the Association.
Permit me to do this. We lost a great lady 3 days ago, Samira Kalis Peitu, due to the rains, unfortunately. My condolences to the family and to the entire NDC Ododo. This was a very strong, committed young lady who supported us so well, and unfortunately we lost her. Condolences to the family.
Condolences to the family from us too. He is Nia Boy and is a financial analyst and member of the NDC he likes it to be Ododo. And then big thank you to Solomon also. In fact, this week I was reading the Inside newspaper. You have Lance yes.
We have an issue.
Oh, okay.
Yes. With Adams.
What is the Lines and Mine Watch? What do you do?
No, we are following up on the mining development in this country and why governments are refusing to take our shares, our percentages in these mines. A typical case is what is happening with Adams, where a court has given orders that has to be respected to protect our 10% stake. The orders have been flouted blatantly by people, Angela List, with able assistance by people in government, which we want the court to do what is right. It is unfortunate. Ghana has a stake. We just spoke about the depreciation of the city. These are free money, not loan. Just go and get our 10%. The court said establish interim management committee. As we speak, the interim management committee is not in place. Yet gold production and gold sales are ongoing. So who is supervising the production of gold and where are we selling the gold? This is the country that we have. And you say we have leaders becoming a banana republic.
So now Lands and Mining Watch, leading member of the Alliance for Revolutionary Change,
that one is
an astute businessman.
Alan is coming to power.
Well,
what is that?
Thank you. Of course, a big thank you to Jifatega, who is a deputy national women organizer of the National Democratic Congress. I was introducing Kwame Kwesi Pratt Jr., who is the General Secretary of Socialist Movement of Ghana. We like to limit it to that, but always he reminds us of the things that most of the times we've forgotten. The fact that most of the times we are repeating history, in history that most of the times is not palatable and it's not good. He keeps reminding us of that, and we always learn a lot listening to him. I am Sana Nombo for my producers, led by Tijani Badamasi, Latifa Adams, Rabina Frimpong, and of course director Dion Huberts, sound Emmanuel Osei, and Ruben. We say a big thank you for making time to join us here on Pan-African Television for the mother of all talk shows. We are back same time next week with another edition of the show. We're also live on Radio Gold and many other stations across Ghana. And of course, a happy birthday to Patrick Kwesi Ofoso Ochri. Thank you. Thank you for making time to join us.
He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people